You know, people found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared, because people found out that this character that she was portraying in a half an hour on a television show is not really who she was, you know, but I hadn't already known that. My buddy Greg, who was one of her writers, was like, she's a piece of shit.
One thing I've never understood is all the hate that Ellen DeGeneres gets. Look at this video of her giving kids with cancer the most beautiful gift.
I was completely wrong, wasn't I? I had the dates wrong all this time.
I called her out. I was like, Ellen's not that nice.
This was after you went on the show?
After I went on the show.
What was it like meeting Ellen? And is she a good person?
Let's just all go back to 2017, where I was the first person to call Ellen out before anyone else
You called her out?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
She grew up in a middle-class family. She went to school at the University of New Orleans. She was only there for a semester, and then she started working in these nightclubs, establishing herself as a stand-up comic. She's making a living waiting tables, and she gets a big break by being named the funniest comic in America.
The Ellen situation.
Yeah.
You know, people found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually a bitch. And then we're like, whoa,
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared, because people found out that this character that she was portraying in a half an hour on a television show is not really who she was. My buddy Greg, who was one of her writers, was like, she's a piece of shit. And he was like, she's a monster.
Ellen DeGeneres was daytime TV's queen of nice. She danced, she talked to cute kids, and surprise, she's a huge asshole.
Ellen DeGeneres feeling the heat.
Bullying, now even sexual harassment.
Hey, Ellen DeGeneres, I hope you never find employment again.
Turns out Shorty is a demon. Somebody stop this woman before it's too late.
So former employees actually said that Ellen's "Be Kind" mantra, it was all for show.
Dakota Johnson might have got wrecked on screen by Jamie Dornan, but that's nothing compared to what she did to Ellen DeGeneres in the 1 minute that ruined Ellen's career. When Dakota Johnson was 29 years old, she went on Ellen DeGeneres' show where Ellen made the joke that she should have invited her to her birthday party. It cuts to almost a year later, Dakota Johnson's on Ellen DeGeneres' show again, where she said she celebrated her 30th birthday and Ellen said, you should have invited me to the party.
The staffers started to come out, not for nothing, but I know a guy, I know him very well, whose sister worked for her, who said, you were not allowed to make eye contact with Ellen in the halls of that show. If you saw her, this is not a nice...
Beautiful name, Isis.
Ellen's rough.
Ellen is like an old...
But it's a rough one now.
It's a rough one now because she was running Abu Ghraib in the back of her show.
It led to article after article of people being like, Ellen's a bitch. Ellen is a nasty...
This time there was a lot more tension where Dakota Johnson replied to Ellen saying she invited her to her 30th, but she didn't even respond to the invite. And Ellen DeGeneres, who normally presents herself as this nice, happy person on TV, was put on the hot spot by Dakota Johnson saying she doesn't think she actually likes her, and it was a very tough moment of tension.
Ellen DeGeneres didn't just face backlash. Her empire is falling apart in real time. Once hailed as the queen of kindness, she built a billion-dollar brand on smiles, dance breaks, and surprise giveaways. But now, that shiny, feel-good image has cracked wide open, and two heavy hitters just dropped the final hammer. Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly teamed up for a takedown that's not just personal, it's cultural. No rants, no cancel hashtags, just raw facts, sharp analysis, and a ruthless reality check. And the result? Ellen's big Netflix comeback is reportedly falling apart. This isn't just a bad review or a few angry tweets, it's a reckoning. A full-blown unraveling of one of the most polished personas in TV history. Remember when Ellen used to say, "Be kind"? That message was everywhere, on mugs, t-shirts, and daytime TV screens across the globe. But behind the scenes, former staffers tell a different story.
Like, a lot of people saying that someone who seems so nice is not nice at all.
She doesn't seem nice, but that people have a very poor judge of character. She doesn't seem nice. It seems forced. People that are like that all the time, she doesn't seem nice. It's very forced. And whatever, you're allowed to be
a workplace ruled by fear. Writers calling her a monster. Staff warned not to make eye contact with her. And then came the moment that shifted the public's mood. Dakota Johnson calmly correcting Ellen live on air about a party invite. That clip didn't just go viral, it exposed the cracks in Ellen's performance. And the internet hasn't let go since. Now, just as she tries to stage her grand return, critics are calling her Netflix special a disaster before it even finishes rolling out. Rogan says the whole thing is a brand of kindness, hiding behind toxic control. Kelly calls it a tone-deaf victim tour. So here we are. Ellen's empire built on Be Kind is being dismantled by brutal honesty. And the big question isn't just what happened to Ellen, it's How many other celebrities are hiding behind carefully marketed masks? This isn't just a takedown, it's a wake-up call. Let's break down exactly how it all fell apart, and why this moment could reshape the future of celebrity branding as we know it.
Right, you're allowed to be nasty to people. You're accomplished. You're a comedian. You did the whole thing. What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage of your show where everybody's walking around afraid for their life, and it's like Abu Ghraib where they're hooked up to wires.
For nearly 2 decades, Ellen DeGeneres wasn't just a talk show host. She was a cultural phenomenon. She danced her way into America's living rooms, laughing with A-listers, gifting cars to everyday heroes, and ending every episode with the same golden advice: be kind to one another. And we believed it. Why wouldn't we? She seemed like the one celebrity who was genuinely nice. Not just likable, but safe. In a Hollywood full of scandals, Ellen was the feel-good fairy godmother. Her face was on mugs, hoodies, Pinterest boards. The Be Kind mantra turned into a movement, a lifestyle brand that printed money. Audiences weren't just watching her, they were buying into her, literally. But here's the twist. That image, it was manufactured, as carefully curated as a movie set. And like every illusion, it had a breaking point, because kindness isn't just a brand, it's a standard. And when the stories started leaking from behind the scenes, stories of cold silence, strict rules, and team members walking on eggshells, it felt like a betrayal. The Queen of Kindness might not have been kind at all. She might have just been good at selling it. This wasn't just one misstep or a single PR blunder. This was the start of a much bigger unraveling, where fans, journalists, and even fellow celebrities started to ask,
you on this. This is perfect for you. Because I'm seeing this week that there is an attempted comeback by somebody who did not cross one of those fateful lines of the misstepping on their sacred cows of gender or race or sexuality.
Yeah.
But she was said to be a nasty biatch, and that's Ellen DeGeneres.
What else have we been fooled by? And Ellen's once bulletproof brand? Well, it's about to face the kind of exposure that even $1 million PR team can't cover up. On camera, Ellen was all smiles. Off camera, the story started sounding like a completely different show. At first, it was just whispers, little anecdotes that seemed too strange to be true, staffers saying they were told not to make eye contact with Ellen in the hallways, writers describing her as cold, distant, even calling her a monster behind closed doors. But those whispers turned into a flood. Former employees began sharing the same chilling pattern: fear, silence, intimidation. One ex-staffer compared the vibe backstage to a pressure cooker, people walking on eggshells just to keep their jobs. Another said there were rules in place to limit contact with Ellen entirely. No direct approach, no casual conversation, just keep your head down and survive the shift. And the weirdest part? This wasn't some small budget production. This was The Ellen Show, a global brand built on generosity, warmth, and good vibes. But behind that studio curtain, according to insiders, it was a different kind of energy, one that didn't match the brand she was selling to millions. Even celebrities who appeared on the show started picking up on the tension.
Yeah.
So her show got canceled after she had this testy exchange with Dakota Johnson, where something happened where Dakota said, I had this birthday party, and Ellen said, well, why didn't you invite me? You didn't invite me. And she said, no, I did invite you, Ellen. That's not what happened. And Ellen had blown her off. And then tried to play the victim on the set with her. Anyway, it led to article after article of people being like, Ellen's a bitch. Ellen is a nasty person.
They described an atmosphere that felt off, like something was always being managed, filtered, controlled. This wasn't just a bad week or one HR complaint. It was a long-standing system, one that rewarded the image, but allegedly ignored the reality. And as the stories stacked up, so did the damage. Because in an industry built on perception, once that perception cracks, everything else starts to fall with it. The message was clear. Behind the glitter, the giveaways, and the feel-good moments was a workplace that looked nothing like kindness. And the public, they were no longer buying it. If there's one person who doesn't play by Hollywood rules, it's Joe Rogan. And when he set his sights on Ellen DeGeneres, he didn't hold back. Rogan didn't show up to gossip, he came to dismantle the illusion. On his podcast, he took aim at the disconnect between Ellen's polished persona and the flood of insider reports. He compared her workplace to Guantanamo Bay, harsh, restrictive, and filled with fear. A place where smiles weren't real, they were required. It wasn't just criticism, it was cultural commentary. Rogan argued that Ellen's "Be Kind" slogan wasn't a philosophy, it was a marketing tool packaged and sold to the public, while the reality backstage told a very different story. To him, this wasn't just about Ellen. It was about a system, a celebrity machine where fake kindness gets monetized and wrapped in merch. He called out the hypocrisy. How can someone sell wellness and warmth on camera, while allegedly creating an environment of silence and stress off-screen? That contradiction, he said, is exactly what's wrong with modern celebrity culture, where curated personas replace accountability and image matters more than integrity. And audiences, they're waking up. Because when someone like Rogan, who's known for questioning everything, puts Ellen's kindness under the microscope, people listen. And this time, what they saw wasn't kindness.
I first started to come out, not for nothing, but I know a guy, I know him very well, whose sister worked for her, who said, you were not allowed to make eye contact with Ellen in the halls of that show. If you saw her, this is not a nice person.
It was control, rebranded as compassion. Rogan didn't cancel Ellen. He cracked the facade. And once you see behind the curtain, you can't unsee it. While Joe Rogan brought the heat with blunt honesty, Megyn Kelly came in with something just as dangerous: receipts. Known for cutting through media spin like a scalpel, Kelly didn't just talk about Ellen. She dissected the entire empire. Her approach was cold, clinical, and devastatingly effective. She skipped the fluff and dove straight into the paperwork. Lawsuits, HR complaints, NDA-protected testimonies, years of red flags swept under the rug. While Rogan questioned the vibe, Kelly traced the infrastructure, the systems and enablers that kept Ellen's smiling image alive, while insiders allegedly suffered in silence. And she didn't stop at Ellen. She called out the media too. For years, journalists tiptoed around the truth. Entertainment outlets glorified Ellen's image, amplified her giveaways, and ignored the warning signs, all to protect the brand. Kelly wasn't having it. She slammed the Netflix special as a tone-deaf victim tour, designed to make Ellen look like the one who'd been wronged. But when you've got a $450 million net worth and a staff history full of unresolved complaints, that narrative doesn't land. What Kelly exposed was bigger than Ellen. It was about the entire system that lets celebrities market moral perfection while avoiding actual scrutiny. And in doing so, she flipped the narrative. This wasn't about cancel culture. This was about consequences. Kelly didn't need to shout. She just told the truth and let the facts do the damage. Every downfall has a turning point. For Ellen DeGeneres, it came from the most unexpected source, Dakota Johnson. It was supposed to be just another charming celebrity chat. But what played out on national television? A mic drop moment that cracked the Ellen facade live on air. Ellen jokingly accused Dakota of not inviting her to a birthday party. Dakota's response?
So she eventually got canceled, but now she's coming back. She's got a Netflix special. That's the right response.
Yeah.
She's got a Netflix special. And here's the capper. On the promo, and apparently there's now articles out about from people who have seen the preview.
Calm, polite, and devastating. Actually, no. That's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited. The audience laughed awkwardly. Ellen tried to recover, but the damage was done. In less than 30 seconds, Ellen's default defense, playing the misunderstood victim, fell apart. It wasn't just a scheduling miscommunication, it was a shift in public perception. Viewers suddenly started asking, wait, what if those backstage rumors were true? The moment went viral and fast. Clips were everywhere. Memes exploded. TikToks broke it down frame by frame. People weren't just watching Ellen's show, they were watching it differently. Every forced smile, every interrupted guest, every awkward exchange was reinterpreted through a new lens. And what Dakota did, without yelling, accusing, or even flinching, was expose a pattern, a habit of flipping blame, of controlling narratives, of staying in the spotlight by playing innocent. It was subtle, but it was real. And for Ellen, it was the moment the curtain started to fall. From there, the media shifted. The whispers got louder. And the queen of kindness, she started to look more like the villain in her own show. After months of silence, Ellen DeGeneres re-emerged in 2025 with what was supposed to be her redemption arc, a brand new Netflix stand-up special. This was her big swing, a chance to tell her side, reclaim her image, and maybe dance her way back into public favor. But instead of applause, what followed was confusion, backlash, and silence. Early promo clips showed Ellen joking about being kicked out of show business. She leaned into the controversy, but not with accountability. Instead, it was delivered like a punchline, a wink. The be kind girl wasn't kind.
With the strike,
they're picketing right now, so I think it's the early stages. I would think it might take a little bit with this one.
When someone crosses the writer strike, that's dirty shit. They cross the picket line.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody doing that yet.
I think Ellen did. I had a buddy of mine who was writing on Ellen. Everybody kind of knows now what she's really all about. And that's another one of those. Like, I'm so nice and I'm so sweet.
I got kicked out of Hollywood. Critics weren't laughing. From The Guardian to Time magazine, reviewers called the special tone-deaf, self-indulgent, and out of touch. And then came the rumors. Tour dates quietly canceled, social media traction flatlining, whispers that Netflix may be distancing itself from the special entirely. Officially, the special hasn't been pulled. It's still there, streaming. But in a world where PR is everything, its release felt more like a quiet drop than a comeback celebration. And in internet terms, that's a flop. To make it worse, Ellen framed herself as a victim of Hollywood, of backlash, of double standards. But with a reported $450 million fortune, a lavish home in Montecito, and a show that ran for nearly 20 years, that narrative just didn't sit right with viewers. Instead of sparking empathy, it reignited criticism. What was supposed to be her redemption became a reminder that the public hadn't forgotten. And when your entire brand is built on kindness, but your response to controversy is self-pity, people don't rally behind you. They tune out. It wasn't a shouting match. It wasn't some viral Twitter feud. It was two voices from completely different worlds saying the same thing. The truth matters. Joe Rogan, known for his raw, unfiltered conversations. Megyn Kelly, a sharp, seasoned journalist with zero tolerance for spin. Together, they didn't attack Ellen. They unmasked her. Rogan's strength? He spotted the pattern. He looked at the shiny branding, the Be Kind movement, and called it what it was: marketing, not morality. He questioned why a brand built on joy and compassion could be run like a pressure chamber behind the scenes. His critique wasn't petty, it was cultural. He exposed the machine that sells positivity while quietly running on fear. Then came Megyn Kelly, the scalpel to Rogan's sledgehammer. She didn't speculate, she sourced. She brought up legal complaints, media silence, and the calculated way Ellen's team tried to manage the fallout. Her style wasn't loud, it was surgical. And it cut deep. What made their takedown work wasn't outrage, it was restraint.
And she actually has the nerve to say that she was run out of Hollywood. This person
with $100 million in her pocket.
$450 million, according to Forbes. That's a low estimate.
Yeah.
Because so now she's out there saying, I was run out of Hollywood. She's actually reportedly complaining about how hard it is for women in America with the double standards.
Look at Oprah, how hard it is for her.
Oh, she's got, like 10 houses, Ellen DeGeneres?
Michelle Obama, look how hard it is for women in America. They're hurting.
They're going to let her back in, Rob, because she's a lesbian, she's a leftist, and she didn't hit one of their...
They didn't need Ellen to confess or lash out. They let the evidence, and Ellen's own actions, speak for themselves. Together, they represented something the public was starving for. Accountability without the theatrics, no spin, no fluff, just the uncomfortable truth behind a carefully curated brand. And when two respected voices, one cultural, one journalistic, line up with the same conclusion, it's hard to ignore. Even for Hollywood, Ellen's downfall isn't just about one person. It's a mirror for the entire industry. For years, audiences were sold a version of celebrities that felt flawless. Smiles on screen, polished interviews, slogans like "Be Kind" stamped across mugs and merch. But now, that illusion is cracking. We've entered an era where fans are no longer satisfied with picture-perfect personas. They want realness, flaws, honesty, growth, not perfectly timed apologies or glossy redemption specials. Ellen's story is becoming the blueprint for a bigger shift, where branding alone won't protect you, where accountability can't be dodged with a dance break. It's no longer enough to preach kindness. You have to live it. And as more stories like Ellen's surface, one thing is clear. The era of untouchable celebrity images is fading. We're seeing the backstage, the cracks, the contradictions, and thanks to voices like Rogan and Kelly, audiences are finally asking the right questions. Not just what did this celebrity do, but who are they when the cameras stop rolling? In 2025, being relatable isn't a strategy, it's a standard. And if a brand like Be Kind can collapse overnight, no one's image is bulletproof anymore. Ellen DeGeneres didn't lose everything because she was flawed. She lost it because the gap between her brand and her behavior became too big to ignore. The fall wasn't sudden, it was a slow collapse, triggered by years of stories that finally found a spotlight. And when Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly stepped in, they didn't create the controversy, they simply amplified what was already bubbling under the surface. No shouting, no scandal bait, just truth. And that truth hit harder than any apology could ever fix. Now, the mugs are dusty, the slogans feel hollow, and the audience that once cheered, they've moved on because kindness, it turns out, isn't something you sell, it's something you prove. In a world tired of fake smiles and PR masks, Ellen's legacy has become a lesson. If your entire empire is built on being the good guy, you better be one, even when no one's watching. Because eventually, someone will.